Before we get formally started, thank you for watching the new Aeon Flux video. That thing was cut to death by Viacom. They were really trying to claim a lot of that, and it took me a week to try and play by their rules, but then I found out you could just add a blurred little box to the corner and it'll go. And so sorry if it looks like shit. I hope people who liked it. So there you go. So the main thing I want to talk about was I decided on a whim a couple days ago to check out Strange World. And if you don't know, because you probably don't, because Disney didn't market it, Strange World is their newest feature animation. And it is not doing great. And nobody is surprised, because every time I talk about it, people don't even know it exists. And quite frankly, I'm not surprised, because Disney, in-house, sucks at science fiction. They have always... I'm somebody... I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big Disney fan. I'm not somebody who's gonna, who only knows, the Renaissance period. No, I mean, I like to look into, as much as I can, different things regarding Disney and their history. And historically... Disney has sucked at science fiction. I mean, I watched Tron Legacy, and it, I don't even know what they were trying to go with it, I know that they wanted to make it their big franchise, but it just, for whatever reason, they've just never been able to stick the landing with sci-fi. And Strange World is no exception. So I don't really want to spoil the whole movie. Quick summation, it is painfully average. It's not horrible, but it's definitely, and my main issue is that it is definitely something you should wait to see on Disney+. And I can't help but think, we are in another slump period in terms of Disney feature animation, and I think we've been in it for quite a while. I don't think people recognize that. I was reminded a lot of Treasure Planet watching this movie. And for the record, I'm sure Treasure Planet is fine. I've tried to watch it. I never get into it, because here's the thing. Treasure Planet is now kind of a cult classic, depending on who you talk to. But man, that movie is very much of its time. When Disney was on uneven ground, post-pandemic, post-Renaissance. Because you gotta remember, I've noticed now with Disney that they get into these Renaissances and then they kind of fade away. The Silver Age, which was Cinderella, and typically the cutoff is either 101 Dalmatians or The Jungle Book. Frankly, I consider the cutoff Sleeping Beauty. That was their second Renaissance period, where they were making films that were mostly box office successes. Not all of them, because they made Cinderella, and then Alice in Wonderland disappointed. I think Peter Pan disappointed, and I think Lady and the Tramp did well. Anyway. Once they're done with their renaissance, they get more experimental, and it's very mixed. And then they had the 90s renaissance. That was The Little Mermaid, roughly until Mulan or Tarzan. Frankly, I consider Pocahontas because that was the first one to not have a huge critical response to it. And now we're kind of seeing it again. We've been in the 3D Renaissance period, and it started with Tangled, and I'm gonna say that it ended with Moana, because here's how it goes. Disney finds a formula that works. They make a new movie, they establish a formula that they're going to use for the next couple movies as they refine it. However, then they reach this, like, crescendo moment of just one movie kind of just does it, but, like, in the most standard way possible. And I say that with Moana because Moana was, like, it's average. You know, the other thing I was thinking when I was watching Strange World is that this movie is like sci-fi Moana. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but the ending feels like somebody was cribbing notes from Moana. Alright, so, you know, Disney have been, since Tangled, a little more open to being meta about themselves, a little more, hey, we're poking jabs at ourselves, and, oh, there's a rational explanation for most things. And, you know, ooh, you know, I'm not a typical princess. This isn't a typical romance. You know, like they had the thing for the while with twist villains. And the kind of the crescendo moment of that was like Hans, and like there's the other two. I always forget his name. The guy from Big Hero 6 and Mayor Bellwether from Zootopia. And Moana kind of did a twist on the... You know, they did a twist on the twist villain. But, like, Moana took me out of the experience a lot by, you know, just kind of making a lot of out-of-context, self-referential jokes. Like, I always remember the tweeting joke. That was one where I sat in the theater and I groaned. So, and I think since Moana, you know, they've been very shaky. I mean, what did we have, right? We had Ralph Breaks the Internet, which is one of their worst movies, which is shocking since Wreck-It Ralph is one of my favorites. Frozen 2, which was a direct-to-DVD movie that was given a theatrical budget. We had Raya and the Last Dragon, which totally did not want to be a Disney movie. I'm 100% convinced that that movie does not want to be a Disney animated film. Then there was Encanto. Encanto, when I saw that, I saw it on Disney Plus because I was respectful of the pandemic times. Strange World was the first time in a while that I've been to a movie theater. But I watched Encanto, and I was like, okay, this one is not doing the meta jokes. This one is not... It's not doing the typical Disney meta, oh, you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of dialogue. And I was like, okay, so this is kind of the make or break moment. Either this is a fluke, or Disney actually did kind of learn their lesson. Yeah, it's the former. It is... Encanto is to... let's see. How do I want to say this? Okay, so you know how Strange World reminded me of Treasure Planet? I now see Encanto as like Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch was in that post-Renaissance period where it's one of the gems of that period. Like, it's one of those movies that's actually critically and, you know, beloved. And, you know, it has a lot of love for it. And I kind of view Encanto the same way. I think that's how we're going to view it. Strange World is not going to have that. And it's not... And again, like, the movie is fine. Mind you, there's a lot of articles about how one of the main characters is gay. Totally fine with that, but, you know for a fact that they're going to cut. Mind you, it's going to be a little harder because there's at least 3 scenes that involve him being gay. But, you know, you could have somebody skilled enough to either edit the dialogue or at least completely cut one of those. I think it just doesn't help that the movie itself is just bland. You know, I think there were too many ideas. They didn't go all the way with it. The ending is absolutely lazy. But I think all of this kind of speaks to a bigger problem that Disney has had. in that I think Disney Plus is a little too successful for them. You know, I know people with kids, and I could not tell them to go out to the theater to watch Strange World. You know, I couldn't, and Disney themselves, it seems like, doesn't even want families to go out and watch it. Because here's the thing, right now they just had Black Panther 2, which was a big success, and they're gonna have Avatar 2. Like, those are what Disney is focusing on right now. And you notice, those are sci-fi. You know, Black Panther is a superhero, but it's sci-fi. That is not made in-house at Disney. You know, one is a 20th century film, the other one's Marvel. Like, Disney themselves did not come up with these concepts. So, Strange World was just kind of caught in the middle. And just kind of pushed out to maybe capitalize on Thanksgiving weekend, and then they themselves said, like, all right, we're gonna release the film a month later on Disney Plus. So what's the point? And I know it's anecdotal, but you know, the same thing happened with Lightyear, in that I heard allegedly that part of the film's box office disappointment came in the fact that parents and kids were kind of trained to be like, okay, this is going to be on Disney Plus. It's not going to be in the theater first. It's going to be on Disney Plus. And, you know, they were probably like, oh, well, it's in the theater. Well, we can wait a month. You know, I have to ask now, Disney has kind of competed with themselves with Disney Plus. It probably also doesn't help that as somebody I watch, Poseidon Entertainment, great videos by the way, pointed out, there's too much overlap between Disney feature animation and Pixar now. They are almost homogenous. I remember I told people in real life that I work with that Strange World was a Pixar film, and I wanted to see if they would call me out, and nobody did. You know, they were just like, oh, okay, whatever. Now, of course, you know, there's always people that assume, I don't know, there's Pixar films that are from DreamWorks. But man, I gotta tell you, this was... If you look at the designs, you know, they're a little too bulbous. How the characters... It's almost like Sony, like Disney were trying to do a little bit of like that Hotel Transylvania style with the characters. And yeah, that the fact that people are starting to have a hard time telling between like Disney feature animation and Pixar might be hurting them. And I mean, I say hurting them. I don't know. I'm not a business analyst. I'm not somebody who's like in, you know, that kind of sphere. I mean, I know some of it, but only at a surface level. I know as much as you know. But I gotta say, it seems like, considering what just happened in that Bob Chapek was just ousted and Bob Iger was brought back in, there must be a lot of stuff going on at Disney. And I've heard allegedly that, like, some of the investors are not 100% happy with streaming right now. Disney is still strong with streaming, don't get me wrong, but I'd have to imagine that if you're in the film department at Disney, it's kind of getting frustrating now that you release a movie and then a month later it's on Disney Plus. You know, because you're meant to see a movie in the theater. And look, I'm not pulling a Martin Scorsese or a Quentin Tarantino thing. You know, I don't care how you watch a movie personally, but you know, I'd imagine that people at the studios do. So I think Disney has done too good of a job with Disney Plus, because now people are just like, well, I could watch Strange World in theater, but I may as well just save my money to watch it on Disney Plus. And quite frankly, I can't blame them. You know, I can't blame people for wanting to stay home and watch it on Disney Plus, because again, it is painfully bland. There's one slight twist at the end that's kind of interesting, but otherwise, the characters are kind of meh. It's just all meh. That's really the big problem here. This does not give me hope for their next film, which is Wish. So yeah, I mean, I could go into more. I think that should be for a separate video about how I feel like Disney is kind of ditching the whimsy that they excel at. And it's across all sectors, but that would require a different video for me to think about. But in the meantime, yeah, I mean, if you want to go see Strange World in theaters, fine. I wouldn't recommend it, but hey, you know what? You do you. Just this is probably more advertising right now what I'm doing than the movie itself got. And what does that tell you? All right, peace.